So in this video today I wanted to cover how to be a hideout warrior. I am by no means uh, one of the best hideout warriors out there. I'm sure there are many people much more knowledgeable than me. But I know quite a lot about how to be a hideout warrior. One thing that I have to mention right from the beginning is um, this video will not contain specific examples of how to be a hideout warrior. Like, for example, I have other videos on my channel, like crafting, that is a very specific craft that you can do for profit, or flipping sextants. Um, a specific sextant, for example, you are not going to find that in this video. This video is going to be more of a tutorial and how to find uh, profitable uh, profitable markets to be a hideout warrior in, and also give you different examples of hideout warrior strats. Usually, hideout warrior strats are kept hidden, not all the time, because there are some hideout warrior strats that everybody knows about. For example, rolling sextants in your hideout. Almost everybody knows about it, and a lot of people are still doing it, and they manage to make a profit. But um, that's an exception because it's an evergreen market. Everybody is going to buy sextants. Um, Another market would be flipping scarabs. This is you just sit in your hideout to do a lot of trades, but you're going to make a lot of currency doing this, and almost everybody knows about it because everybody who's grinding and is liquidating, it's selling either scarabs or delve tabs all at once. So those are what I would call evergreen strategies, but I'm not going to cover those in this video. I'm going to talk about um, more unknown methods for some of you. I'm sure there are many of you who know about these methods and probably know even more than me. But with that being said, let's just get this video started. And I'm just first going to start with the main disadvantages of being a hideout warrior. Well, for excuse me. So the main disadvantage of being a hideout warrior would be, first of all, you are just going to need to spend a lot of time in game. Now, it depends from what strategy you're using. For example, if you're only flipping uh, mirror mirror shard cards or doctor cards, you don't really have to be online that much. But most of the strategies that you're going to do are going to involve you to be online a lot of time, because if you're not online, you cannot receive trades. It's just as simple as that. Another thing would be, um, sometimes depends on what you do. If you're only doing flipping, you can start with very little currency and you don't really need much investment. But the idea is for you to invest all of your money, all the profit that you make. You don't invest in your character, but rather you invest into snowballing. You craft more, you buy more materials that get more expensive as time passes. So you are always on zero currency. You don't have currency to invest in your character, but you have a lot of cash flow. You do a lot of trades. There's a lot of currency coming in, but you never have that ability to spend that currency on your character. You're just going to delay gratification to be able to snowball and make lots and lots of currency. Another major downside would be uh, you are sometimes at some point you're going to be forced to do um, some type of grinding if you don't want to just simply wait. So how do I word this? If, for example, you have 100 divines and your main strategy as a hideout warrior, it's going to be um, crafting, because crafting it's very easy to get 20, 30, 50 divines per hour, 60 maybe. If you get lucky, you can even reach 100 divines in 1 hour, but it's around 20 to 30, 40 divines per hour. That's how crafting works. That's the profit margins that you can expect. But the problem with crafting is it takes time for those items to sell. So what do you do in that time? Well, if you're not playing the game, this is not a problem, because you can just or at least if you're not playing the game but you can be online, this is not a problem. If you can be online to respond to trades, and then 2 or 3 days later you just do another crafting session, you burn through 100, 200 divines, and then you just list all your items for sale, then that's not an issue. But if you want to be a hideout warrior, um, you would have to have, for example, a main activity that would be considered that would be similar to grinding. For example, it would be flipping, because flipping usually tends to sell the item very fast. You tend to sell the items very fast, and because the items sell very fast, you can keep doing this over and over. But flipping is not as profitable as other methods like investing or crafting. So you can think of flipping as um, an alternative to mapping, because at this point most flipping methods are going to yield around 10 to maybe 20 divines per hour, which is similar to high-end maps, high-end juiced maps. So let's just say you have 50 divines, you spend you need 30 divines to keep the flipping continuously without any issues, and those 20 divines that you have excess, you invest into crafting or other items that will be more expensive as time passes. So this would be another major downside of being a hideout warrior. Obviously, the most annoying one is going to be trading. Trading is awful. You're going to whisper lots of people. You're going to simply just spam to. It's just simply it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. You're just sitting in your hideout. But and now we are starting with the advantages. So even though this is boring, the main advantages are going to be the profit margins. If you look at mapping, it's usually some mapping strategies are 5 divines, some better optimized are around 10 divines, maybe 12. And if you really get lucky with apothecary card drops or the brother's gift from cemetery at this point in the league, you can expect to make at around 10 to 20 divines maximum. That would be the high end. 20 divines per hour would be you getting super lucky, but that's pretty much the cap. Whereas with hideout warrior strats, the main benefits is going to be um, the currency per hour that you can generate. It's not uncommon to see 10, 20, 30, 50 divines, 60 divines. If you get really lucky, you can even get one mirror on a very good craft. For example, um, you can uh, you can buy. Let's just say, for example, you go and buy uh, a ring with a curse from Delve, and then you synthesize it, and it happens to have 3 implicits, and one of those is very good, and you can sell that for a mirror or close to a mirror, depends on what implicit it has. So if it has uh, the 3 implicits, it will already sell for about 10, 20, 30 divines, maybe 40. It depends on what curse it has. So there's that. But with with grinding, apart from dropping a Mage Blood or a Headhunter, which it's super rare, or maybe dropping a Mirror of Kalandra, you are not going, realistically speaking, you're not going to get more than at maximum 20 divines an hour, and the 20 divines would be getting super lucky. Usually it's around 10 divines per hour with mapping. Now let's go over some strategies. I know it's been a long intro, but I wanted to make these things clear. Let's go over some strategies that I think are going to be profitable. Once again, I'm not going to give specific examples as the previous ones that you have seen in my videos if you have watched them. So one of the uh, ways to make currency would be to flip gems. So what I mean by gems, there are two methods to flip gems. Um, One would be with the alternate quality, and one would be with the awakened gems. Let's talk about awakened gems. When you go to this site right here, it will show you the most expensive gems. As you can see right here, these are the most expensive ones. Now, if you check here on type, you can select anomalous, awakened, divergent. We are only going to discuss the alternate quality and the awakened gems. So we start with the awakened ones, and you can see how expensive these are. Okay, we are interested in uh, inequality, non-corrupted, and gem level 1. And let's look at this. Usually when you are doing this strategy, you should look at a gem that is about 1, 2, 3, 4 divines worth. For example, you take Unleash, and you open the trade site with the Unleash. So you can see that this gem right here, level 1, it's 1.5 divines. But let's just look how expensive it is at 5 divines. So at 5 divines, this costs about 3 divines, it seems like. There is this person here that has it listed for 2.5, but this gem seems to be selling at about 5 divines. So let's just say that you want to maybe sell it 2.8, 2.9 divines. You pay 1.5 divines, 1.5, and if you sell it level 5, you should make, let's just say 1.4, you should make 1.4 divines profit. But how do you make it level 5? There is a modifier here.
Hello.
Bramble. Okay, so this wild brambleback, it increases the level of a non-corrupted awakened gem by 1. Let's check how expensive this one is, and also cost about 3 yellow
The
beasts.
first one's
I
up.
think I'm not going. You have to do the calculations yourself, but usually when you buy yellow beast in bulk, I think the last time it was 150 per 60. So 2.5 times 3, it would cost you per attempt 7.5 chaos to use that beast once, because you're going to buy this beast in bulk, times 4, because you buy it level 1, so you need 4 of these beasts. So 30 chaos only for the yellow beasts, maybe it would be a bit more. Then also to buy the beasts, you go to the TFT and you go here, Crucible, Softcore, Bulk, want to sell, and you go to Beast, and here you buy the yellow beast in bulk. Assuming you're making a you're making 1.4 divs, but let's see the profitability. So wild bramble back, let's see how much this cost. This guy right here, look at him, he's a price fixer. Let's just put it in chaos. These guys sell for 50, but there are only a few, so the price looks like maybe 60. Let's check here. So this guy it's selling 0.1. No, I think this is what? As you can see, these sell for why? I don't understand why people are selling so cheap. They are very rare anyway, but these are also very cheap. I'm just going to say 50 kills per one beast. So it takes 4 beasts. Uh, that would be 200 kills. Um, so if you buy an unleashed gem and you're going to use, if this would be, if if this is true how this guy sells it, at about 22 kills, this would mean much higher profit, to be honest. uh, yeah, anyway, you do the math. So if if this would be true, you spend 230 kills, and meaning you pay 50 kills per wild brambleback, and you would make back 220 times 1.4 minus 230. Uh, so you would make about 80 kills profit. Now, obviously, if you buy it like this guy says, it would be 22 times 4 plus 30 minus 0.08. So you'd make 200 chaos profit if you'd manage to buy the beasts from this guy that sells it for 0.1 divines. So that would be one way to make profit. Now, I'm not sure if Unleash is the best gem. I just picked one that was here. Um, but you get the idea how you find the gems. You have to do the math yourself. Don't take these examples because if it's on YouTube, it's probably dead. So that would be one thing you have to keep in mind. Um, let's go over another way to flip gems, and this would be with the alternate quality. With the alternate quality, it's usually the support gems that are worth flipping, but not all the time. Usually, you look at anomalous and divergent, and here you can select not corrupted. Um, quality, it can be any. Gems can be any. So you would look at this blood rage. You see that level 2020, it's 5 divines, and if you go on PoE and you search blood rage, this gem right here, here it has the qualities, and by default It's superior quality. So anomalous has a weight of 5 and divergent has a weight of 50. The way you would calculate your chance of hitting the anomalous is going to be 5, this right here, divided by 50 plus 5. But if you're starting with a divergent gem, you would have 5 divided by 5 plus 50, once again, because the weighting is the same. But I'm just pointing it out that sometimes you can start with the divergent or with the anomalous. For example, the chance of you hitting the anomalous would be 5 divided by 50, so it would be 9% chance of hitting the anomalous. But if you're starting with an anomalous blood ridge, for example, and you're using a prime regrading lens, the chance of hitting the divergent would be 50% because it would be 50 divided by 50 plus 50, which is 100. So it would be 50% chance if you're starting from anomalous. Now, obviously, you're not going to start from anomalous because anomalous is the one that uh, you want. But for example, um, there are some cases. I think um, it was cast on damage taken. Let me check. Uh, so yeah, cast on damage taken. Usually the divergent is the expensive one. So if you're starting with a superior cast on damage taken, your chance of hitting the divergent is going to be 60 divided. It's going to be 20 divided by 120, which is 16.6%. But if you're starting from anomalous, it would be 100. It would be 20 divided by 70 because these two add together. So it's going to be 20 because this is the weight of the divergent divided by 70. So it's going to be almost 29% chance of success. When you have an active gem like Blood Rage, Vortex, Cyclone, you're going to use prime regrading lens like this, so you can see how expensive these are. And um, when you're starting with when you reroll the quality on a support gem, is going to be secondary regrading lens. These are more expensive. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you, it would be let's show you the inspiration. Um, so it's not corrupted. Inspiration support. The divergent inspiration, it's going to be 2 divines, 2.2. And the anomalous inspiration is going to cost 100 chaos, right? And let's look again at the price um, of the secondary regrading lens. So this is 1 divine. And now let's look at the chance of hitting. So I know this used to be good. I'm not sure if it's good at this point, but I want to show you something in Hideout. So basically, um, you start with at this one. You start with the superior. You can go to
when I'm ready and
let's go
not
to
before.
Lily.
Godslayer.
So you can buy inspiration like this. You can use a gem cutter prism. You give it 1 quality. Let me show you if I can find it on trade. Um, Anyway, so yeah, look at this guy. This guy is doing exactly this thing. He's just buying gems because, for example, in the example of the anomalous cast on damage taken, you'd have to start from an anomalous base, which means you have to trade with players, which takes time, and those gems are also expensive. But in case of the inspiration, for example, you just buy it from Lily, and then you just do the trades for the secondary regrading lens, and you just use it on your gems, just like that. And now let's calculate the profit. So we go to the POEDB here. You start with the superior. It's just level 1 with 1 quality. If you want to add 1 chaos for the gen cutter, anyway. So it's a 50-50 chance to give you either divergent or anomalous. So basically the cost for the gem it's going to be just 1 divine per try. So it's going to be 0.5 times 0 times 100 divided by 220, 0.23 divs. So when you spend 1 divine, you have 50% chance to give you um, you have some no 0.5 times 100 50, and then it's going to be 0.5 times 2.1, for example, plus 0.23. So each attempt should give you on average, mathematically speaking, should give you a profit of should give you about 1.3 divines, 1.28 divines return, and you should spend about 1 divine. So this would be your profit. So every time you're hitting you're you're using a primary grading lens, you're going to make 61 chaos, assuming you can sell the divergent inspiration for 2.1 divines. But if you sell it for 1.9, then it's going to be about 20 chaos profit per try. But that's an example. This is how you calculate it. What else? Crafting. Okay, I'm not going to give specific crafting examples. I have some videos on my channel about specific crafting examples, but I'm going to show you how to find a few profitable crafts. It's much more complicated than this, but this should be at least to give you somewhat of an example. So you go to builds. Usually you select the most popular build and you sort by DPS. Now, if you want to look at the highest DPS, you can look at them, but I would just look at these guys right here, much more at the bottom, and see what they have. So you look at their items and see what's something that is common. So you can see that this guy has diamond flask with increased critical strike chance during flask effect. Okay, how much is this flask, for example? So such a flask, if you wanted to craft, would be about 1 divine, 150 kills. So this is one example of what you craft. Maybe you can look at this right here. So chance to avoid being chilled, chance to avoid being frozen. And also you look at the amethyst. So let's just look at this amethyst flask. Um, how much would be to craft a flask like this? That guy had 40, let's just put 37. Oh, so this one is similar to that one, about one divine. So maybe you can craft this flask right here. I'm not sure about this one, I'm not going to check it, but you get the idea. Now let's look at the gloves. So this guy seems to need gloves with dexterity, chance to suppress spell damage, and lightning damage to attacks. Okay, how would you craft a pair of gloves like this? Or how would you craft the boots that this guy has? Um, you look at the quiver. You don't try to craft weapons because weapons, especially this league, are dependent on the crucible tree. Usually, it's good to craft weapons, but this league not because they are too dependent on the crucible tree. So stay away from weapons, at least for this league. Now let's just look at this quiver. Okay, so this guy has a quiver with increased attack speed, critical strike multiplier with bows that has fist damage to attacks and lightning damage to attacks. Craft of Exile. Let's see how we craft that quiver. So you can see that it has a fracture and adds lightning damage to attacks. Also, um, you look at more of these builds, and what you see here is something that is very common. This quiver, it's common on all these builds. Increased attack speed, bow attacks fire an additional arrow, lightning damage to attacks, crit multi, maximum life, and some increased damage with bow skills and increased attack speed. Okay. Um, look at more guys and see what gloves they have. For example, this guy as well needs dexterity, needs a lot of dexterity. Hold on a second. So I have this quiver. Uh, this quiver is similar to that one, except this has fire damage to attacks. I'm just testing it, but I'm going to show you how to craft a quiver like this, uh, or with lightning damage. So let's go to Craft of Exile, show you real quick how to craft a quiver like this, and then you do the math if it's worth, if it's not worth. You have to obviously check the trade site. It takes time. You're not going to find them on YouTube because if you find them on YouTube, they're already dead. So you go to Quiver. That guy had fractured. One had fracture on +1, and the other one had fracture on damage on crit multi. Um, let's show you on in the emulator because I already also let's show you on the calculator as well. So once you have the fracture, either on the crit multi on the bow fire and additional arrows, you spam essence that gives you lightning damage to attacks. Also as well, there's a trend here. Everybody has this base. That means it's going to be a much more expensive base. Let's check. Broadhead. Okay, that guy named uh, yeah, Broadhead. It's called Broadhead. I already know it's item level 81. You select for non-corrupted, non-mirrored. Um, So you look at one base like this. You can see that they go for 5 divines. Let's just check 37. Maybe you can buy it for cheaper. 3 divines, 4 divines. Expensive bases. Let's check any. These are too old. Yeah, these items seem to be very expensive. Everybody is looking for this base, so you would probably want to craft on this base. After that, um, let's see. They have add lightning damage to attacks. All of them have prioritized lightning damage to attack. This guy right here has accuracy rating instead of attack speed. This guy has increased elemental damage with attacks and proj speed. This guy has attack speed, crit multi. So I'm gonna craft this bow because I already know the crafting process. So let's show you how you do this. You do the math yourself. If it's worth, you check the price of that item before you start to do any craft. But let's go. You can also start and you can check the other fracture, which is going to be bow, fire, an additional arrow. Oh, I will. Bow, fire, and this base is too expensive, and probably all these items are already crafted. So you're not going to touch this base. You're going to start with crit multi with bow skills. Uh, this lightning damage to attacks, it's targeted usually with an essence mod, lightning damage to attacks, and when you move your cursor over it says essence of torment. So let's see the price of essence of torment. Deafening. They are quite cheap. They're 3 chaos each, 3 to 4 chaos each. Let's check the chance of you hitting that mod. So we select fractured, essence of torment. As I said, we start with this modifier. This is the one that's fractured. And if you want to fracture an item, you just right click it like this after you have selected fractured here. So the chance of you hitting this mod, it would be 1 in 147. But this does not include that sometimes your suffixes can be full and you cannot get rid of them. So you have to gamble. So I would double this number. I would just double it for the sake of security. 147 times 2 times the 3.5, for example, divided by 220. So it would cost you about 4 to 5 divines in essences just to hit, just to make a quiver. That would look, immediately I show you, that would have crit multi, tier 1, fractured. That would have bow, fire, an additional arrow, and that would also have the prefix modifier of the essence, lightning damage to attacks, this tire right here. So on average it will take you about 4.7 divines. Maybe you get lucky. I'm just saying just how to expect the cost to make such a quiver. Then at this point, the way you would craft this would be cannot roll attack. And if you look here, the only modifier that does not have cannot roll attack is going to be increased damage with both skills and the maximum life. At this point, if you're using an Exalt, voila, it's very easy to give you high tier of maximum life. But if it gives you a bad model like this. When you use an orb of annulment, the orb of annulment cannot remove bow fire an additional arrow because it has the attack modifier, so it will not remove any modifier that has attack. But this does not work with orb of scouring. Keep that in mind. What this means, it means that this mod, because we have only 3 mods that don't have the attack tag, which is going to be maximum life, increased damage with both skills, and cannot roll attack, the chance of you removing cannot roll attack modifiers on the first attempt, it's going to be 33%. We got unlucky. And at this point, I would personally use an Exalt because now you have a 50% chance of removing cannot roll attack. So I would use the Exalt and I would try to annul. Once again, use the Exalt, try to annul at this stage. And at this point, I would gamble it like this. I got lucky. Maybe I would gamble it again if I'm not happy with the tire of life. And voila, I would sell this. And if you look it on the trade, maybe it's about 20-30 divines. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the price. Well, basically, this is how you select items to craft for these guys that sell. Um, as you've seen there, um, they tend to have dexterity on their gloves with fire damage to lightning damage to attacks as a prefix. Also, some spell suppression. You look at what rings they have and you try to craft something similar. Test the profitability, see if it's worth how to do it. Anyway, this is how you find crafting profitable crafts. Another craft would be the Righteous Fire amulets. If you go here, these are the most popular builds. The number one is going to be a Lightning Arrow, and then it's going to be Righteous Fire. If you select by DPS, so you go at these guys and don't look at the first ones because probably they will have mirrored ones, mirrored items. Look at a few of them and you look at their amulet, see what amulet they have, look at their gloves, try to craft something similar to these gloves. Um, Once again, look at what gloves this guy has. And what you will see something very common, which is going to be the amulet. It's going to be the base of the amulet. You look at the weapon, but I would not try to craft weapons in this league. Maybe look at their shield, craft shields for these guys. Look at what rings they're using, but I can tell you this ring is very expensive. Don't craft it. Um, if they have uniques, don't craft the uniques. Don't craft body armors. I don't think they're worth. Look at their helmets. Try to craft something similar. Anyway, you get the idea. Look at their flasks. This is how crafting works. It's probably the most profitable thing you can do in this game, apart from maybe double corrupting at Alva Temple, doing the math before, and making sure that you're winning the gamble, so you can make huge profits. So that would be another strategy to make currency. Another strategy, and probably this should have been the first one I discussed, but I don't know why I started this way. Another one, it would be flipping. So let's see. I have a video where I made about 20 divines in a 1 hour. I guess it was 15 to 20 divines in a 1 hour just flipping sextant modifier. Basically the way I would go about it, go to the market, I would buy a sextant with Strongbox enraged. I would buy it like this, and then I would go to the TFT and sell it in bulk. But you can apply the same strategy to beasts, for example. At this point, Vivid Vulture, the league is pretty much dead, and the only players that are left playing the game are the people trying to hit mirror items. And you can see that the Vivid Vultures are very expensive. The way you know that an item is sells a lot. It's usually when you look at these guys, they will have a a line that cuts the text. Um, that means they have sold that item. So you can see that Krejcik Chimerals sell, like for example, 2.4 divines for Krejcik Chimeral. So if you have 10 Krejcik Chimerals, let's see how much you can buy. You just whispers a lot of people, so you buy it for 2.2, 2.3. So each trade you make about 20 to 40 chaos. You buy 2.3 and maybe try to sell it for 2.5. You buy 20, 30 of these, uh, and you sell for 2.5. So you make about, maybe depends on how you buy it, at what price you buy it. You make about 20 to 60 chaos per trade. But if you just whisper a lot of people, as some of you have seen in that video, where I just pretty much bought about 100 compasses in 1 hour, uh, and if you expect to make 30 kills per each trade, uh, 100 times 30 divided by 220, you can make about 13 to 14 divines just flipping, and these tend to sell quite well. Another flipping example would be, for example, mirror shard. Mirror shard. This sells for 28 divines and 7 years bad luck. It's 2 divines, so that's a profit, right? You just buy at 2 divines. Look, there are plenty of them at 2 divines. You would pay 26 divines to get a mirror shard, and then you would flip it and sell it for 27.9, and you just made 1.9 divines by doing 13 trades. 1.9 times 220 divided by 13, you would make about 30 kills per each person you whisper. That's a flip right there. You can do it with the nurse card, doctor. Anyway, you can buy apothecaries and sell the mage bloods in case you get a high roll. Anyway, this is how you flip. This is how you flip in this game. You can do other flips. For example, you go here and look at these guys. They sell essences in bulk. You can buy their tabs and then list the essences yourself. You can buy uh, not catalysts, scarabs. Uh, you buy from these guys. You pay 100 divines in total, and then you list every scarab yourself. You do the price checks and you do the sales yourself, and you make about 20 divines profit for 100 divines invested. You can do that with delves, and when you look at these guys, they sell about 85% of ninja price. So you can expect to make at least 15% when you sell it on the trade, especially if you sell in bulk. You can probably make even more than 15%, maybe 20, 25%, maybe 30%. But it's about 20 divines profit per 100 divines invested. But this is assuming you sell everything. Not all the scarabs will sell, obviously, and you have to be online to make the sales for the bad scarabs like Rusted Torment or Rusted, I don't know, Bestiary, something like that, Rusted Sulfite. Anyway, that's a flip right there. Uh, Another flip would be, for example, you look at the currency. Let's see. I know that's a flip good. I mean, it's not good, but it's a flip. You buy fusings per divine. So you whispers you whisper these people that sell for 1,100, 1,080, and then you can go.
When I'm ready and not before. Yes?
You can go here and buy chance warps per one fusing. Usually it's not worth doing this, but at this point into the game, the only people left are the people that are trying to make items, so they are chasing. So you can see that you pay one divine to make 100, to buy 1080, 1100 fusings, and you get and you can convert that and you sell it for chances. So you just made 80 chance warps, 1000, no, so you make 13 chaos profit doing this. I mean, it's not profitable, but it's a flip. Once again, I don't want to give specific examples because you have to do it yourself. Okay. Let me think about other things you can do as a hideout warrior. So we covered flipping, we covered gem flipping. I'm not going to talk about Alva because Alva is something else. Stack decks, gamble, I'm not going to cover that. Let's see, let me think.
Remember, we do this for freedom.
Okay, one would be rings. So if you go to the Craft of Exile and you look at the rings, jewelry rings, there are some modifiers that can only drop from Delve, so it's going to be these curses right here. Usually it's the Frostbite that's the most valuable. I think Despair, if I remember correctly, Despair is not valuable, and also I think only the Despair is the one that's not valuable because it can appear as an synthesis implicit. So you can, what you can do, you can just search for rings that don't have any influence. For example, you can type here has influences, like this, and to make it not. So right now, if you search for a ring, um, none of the rings here will have an influence on them. And then you can also add another stat group. This would be curse, frostbite, curse enemies with frostbite on hit. It doesn't really matter the base that much. Actually, it does matter. Don't buy Bone Ring and don't buy Unset Ring because when you go to Craft of Exile here, it asks you if it's Unset Ring, if it's Bone Ring, so or a ring. Just select a ring. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it's not Bone Ring or Unset Ring because adds other modifiers. You probably should look at what tier is the most important one. So you'd want to probably buy item level 84 maybe. But I think 82 is good as well. You buy these rings right here. Make sure they're not cropped, they're not mirrored. You go to the hideout.
When I'm ready
And
and
here you
not
have
before.
synthesize. Synthesize an item, giving random synthesize implicits. Now this is expensive, it's probably 2 divines per try. But from time to time you're going to hit rings that have um, 3 implicits, and those sells for about uh, let's just Yeah, this guy was trying to scam me. He just modified the message and put 4 divines instead of 5. So you go to, when you synthesize those items, so when you synthesize those items, you make them with 3 implicits, they sell. Let's see if we implicit modifiers with 3. Uh, did I... So apparently there's none on the market. Probably all of them sell. Um, as you can see, they exist on standard. The way you make these strings with the implicits, the reason why they don't exist on the market is probably because everybody is buying them to create. Let's see if we can find with 2. So yeah, with 2 exist. They don't really sell, but with 3 they don't exist because everybody is buying them to craft mirror tier items. But this is a very expensive. But I thought I would mention it. I'm not sure what's the chance, probably 1 in 20, but you can ask for 100 divines, maybe 50 divines for such a ring. It depends also on what implicit it gives you. Now, let's talk about something else, would be gloves, temple mods gloves. So this incursion modifier right here, let's select strength text. Usually these are the best bases. So this incursion modifier right here, cold resistance, increase damage with hits against shield enemies. This is usually the best one, and it if you manage to buy a base, usually the good bases. If you don't know what are the good bases, you go to the emulator, create new item, gloves, strength text, for example, and you look at dragon scale, hydra scale, worm scale. These are the good bases. So let's just select hydra scale gauntlets. And if you look at this mod with about 50% roll, as you can see, these are very expensive and they don't really exist, because this is what people are trying to do. They're trying to fracture this mod right here, and the way you obtain 50% or close to 50%, let's just try 48 and see what we get. So also they have to be non-fractured. This is the reason why they are so cheap. You look at the one that is not fractured, and the cheapest one with 48 is going to be 5 divines, but apparently didn't sell. Maybe this guy was not online, so this is why it didn't sell. But usually people buy these bases so that they can fracture, and the way you change that roll
When
is
I'm
when you
ready
go to
and not
harvest and
before.
you reforge. No, when you change resistance, when you change for example from fire you change it to cold, the cold will be a different roll. When you change it back to fire, it will give you a different roll, and when you change it back um, to cold, it will give you a different roll as well. Uh, it costs different. It costs 500 seeds each change. So you do the math if it's profitable or not. But this is a way to flip gloves to make profit. You do the math if it's profitable or not. But this is another way you can make currency in your hideout. Let's see. Hope I didn't forget anything. Maybe another flipping example would be fracturing orb. You buy fracturing shards and then you sell for fracturing orb, so it sells for 7.4, and the fracturing shard sells for 78 to 80 chaos. Let's just say 80 times 20 divided by 220. Not that profitable, but compared to Doctor or Mirror Shard, I don't know. I hope I didn't forget anything. Hopefully. Um, yeah, this was the video about how to be a hideout warrior. As I said, I'm not the best. Oh, actually, um, yeah, I forgot to mention one thing. So when you're being a hideout warrior, you're not going to uh, uh, abuse one strategy. For example, um, this quiver, you're not just going to craft 200 quivers like this. You craft one or two quivers like this, and then you craft one or two righteous fire amulets, then you craft one or two, maybe 10 diamond flasks like this. As you saw, they sell for about one divine. Then you craft a few gloves like this. Then you do a little bit of mirror shard flipping. You do a little bit of beast flipping. You do a little bit of uh, the doctor flipping, so that the market resets itself. Then you maybe move to awakened gems flipping. Then you also move to alternate quality flipping. Um, if you're doing one strategy, if you're abusing one strategy, the best example I have, it's in the video where I flipped sextants. So I flipped for 1 hour straight. When I started that video, that sextant modifier sold for 22 awakened sextants. And at the end of the video, in only 1 hour by one player, it was just me doing that. Maybe there were other people, but I was just spamming those flips. The price rose from 22 sextants per 22 awakened sextants per charged compass to 24 awakened sextant per charged compass just by me flipping. So if you're crafting the same thing for 10 hours a day, you're going to offload that market for that item and it's not going to be profitable. So you have to switch these around. The same, it's true about doing gems. For example, the inspiration gem that I showed you, that you should make between 20 to 60 chaos profit for an inspiration gem flip. If you're doing 200 inspiration gems, you're going to flood the market at some point. That's one thing to take into consideration. Just make sure you don't focus on only one strategy. The only strategies that you can spam are usually the strategies that work well, which are going to be awakened sextant, spamming in your hideout, and flipping scarabs or delves or essences. But those are pretty much the only one that you can actually spend time and only focus on that. But other than that, you cannot flip mirror shards forever. You cannot flip doctor cards forever, but you can flip 2 or 3 mirror shards. You can flip 2 or 3 doctor cards and then move to something else. so that the market resets itself and you don't destroy that that flip. Because if you're simply just floating that market with one product, you're just going to kill that market. After I released the video about sextant flipping, everybody started doing it because they saw me making about 18 divines in 1 hour, which is quite high. So the price in about 1 or 2 days, the price rose to about 31 to 32 awakened sextants per compass. So this is the reason why you're not going to find these strategies on YouTube, and the reason why you should not only focus on only one strategy is because you're going to ruin the market, even if there's only you that is doing it. If I'm crafting this quiver, just me, I'm probably ruining the market. Anyway, I think that's all I had for this video. Hopefully I didn't forget anything important and I didn't make any errors. It's a long video and probably many of you will not watch it because it's too long. But this is all that I know about being a hideout warrior. I'm sure some of you out there know more. For example, using other applications to help navigate the trade site faster. Maybe using third-party software. Maybe uh, changing when you're flipping currencies. Maybe there are some people that are using when they are binding their click to scroll wheel, things like that I didn't mention. I don't do them, but I know there are out there.
When I'm ready
Another
and
thing
not
people do
before.
would be, for example, if I want to flip the sextant, somebody mentioned this in the comments. Instead of me buying awakened sextant, I could sell the divine orb for awakened sextants, and people who have awakened sextants for sale will come and buy my divines. These are small min-maxing things that I didn't mention. I don't really use them that much. As I said, I'm not a hideout warrior player, mainly because I only play PoE for about 2 weeks each league, but this league it was an exception. But this is usually how you do it.